You're listening to Paris: A State of Mind on Paris Underground Radio.
Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. Join us as we talk about the good, the bad, the ins, the outs of property rentals and purchases in and around Paris. We'll have topics for renters, owners, and visitors, share questions we are regularly asked, and more. My name is Gail Boisclair of Perfectly Paris, and my co-host is Marie Pistinier of Lokim Paris. Be a part of it. Both of us are proud members of the SPLM, the first representative body of furnished rental professionals. Hello, Marie. How are you?
I'm very fine, Gail. How are you doing?
Are we ever going to start our podcast in a different way?
Yeah, I think that I have to think about that for next time. When sometimes I hear the podcast, because I have to say that I listen to the podcast sometimes and to make sure that we didn't say any mistakes. And I'm a bit annoyed when I hear me saying all the time, "I'm very fine, thank you." And you? What about you, Gail?
Yeah, I know. It's like, hi, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I know. We've got to get out of the fineness. But we're just so fine all the time.
That's
What can we
right,
say?
exactly.
Oh,
Welcome, everyone.
yes, because now we're in part 3 of our Managing Your Vacation Rental series. And in our last episode, Marie, you asked me how to choose an agency or a property manager. And it was such a good question that this episode, that is exactly what we will talk about.
Yeah, so I'm asking you, should the owners choose the first person they met and who seems to be reputable?
Well, it's a very valid question. And for me, that really depends a lot on how they want to work. When I meet a potential owner for the first time, I like to ask questions about what they want to do in terms of rentals. Will they be stressed out every month because they need to cover their mortgage? If so, holiday rentals may not be their best option since we're limited in the city of Paris as to the number of nights a flat can be rented. And there are other questions both the owner and the potential manager need to ask each other to ensure that they're on the same page or at least in the same ballpark or playing the same, ball game. If you are going to hand over the keys to your Paris home, you may want to choose someone who has a style or a personality you want to work with. I mean, it might sound silly, but I'll often suggest that owners meet other managers to get an idea of the different ways that people work, because there's truly a style for everyone.
Yes, that's a good point, Gail. And in your case, you do have a small business, so I imagine that you try to choose people you like working with too.
I really do. Absolutely.
So I guess that owners don't know because you know the business, right? But owners need to make sure that they are working with someone secure and that everything is going to work fine. So is there a secret directory where someone can look up property managers in Paris or elsewhere?
Well, of course there is. All you can do is you just ask Google or Siri, right? It's like, hey, Google, what property managers are in Paris? Will she answer me? Probably.
Probably, but would that be good ones? We don't know.
If you don't know anyone that's working as a professional in property management, you can definitely do searches for companies on the internet, ask for referrals on social media, word of mouth, so on and so forth. But even more so, there is an association, a federation of French rental professionals, not only in Paris, but in all of France, called the SPLM, right, Marie?
Yes, and the SPLM, and we are members of. So you can definitely check the website. So it's the splm-france.fr. And there is all the members here are professional companies who are doing vacation, but also medium and long stays. And you can definitely check them out. And if you don't find any property manager in your area, which may happen, or if you don't get along with, because Gail was mentioning that it's there is a style for everyone. everyone. So it's true that you are going to handle the keys of your own little jewels. So you want to make sure that the people you are going to work with are fitting your style. Like if you want like a big company who have a lot of industrial process and who like a big machine, you will find your happiness in that. But if you'd like a more small business type of with only a few people but a very personalized one, you will find them as well. So, and if you go online because you don't find your exact match, make sure that if you work with a real estate agent or someone who says he's a real estate agent, make sure that you do have a professional card number. Feel free to check online if there is any reviews, even from clients like tenants or tourists, because bad reviews happens and it's normal. You will find some in many websites and even on our website because things can happen. But if there is only bad reviews, that's a bad red flag. But it will give you a trend on that. Few reviews among many nice reviews will just show that it's a normal company. And make sure that you can find, even you can ask, for example, when you deal with a professional, you ask them for referrals. Maybe they will have an owner or two that will be okay to spend some minutes with you over the phone and to share about their experience with their company. So it's really definitely something you should do. And once it's done, I think that you must also speak to the agency about how do they find their renters. For example, are they listed on some big booking website? If not, how do they find our clientele? Do they use any sort of software systems like PMS, property manager systems, in order to manage their workflow, or for example the pricing, right, Gail?
Absolutely. And it's good you defined what PMS is because people might have thought it was something else.
Yes, sorry about that.
And I won't say what that something else is because I'm sure
No.
everyone has figured that out. But those are all great questions. And Marie, in fact, I don't list any of the Perfectly Paris apartments on the big booking websites, but that's really a personal choice between me and my property owners. My owners don't want to be listed on the big websites either.
But you have also a lot of direct bookings, right?
Yeah, that's the thing is since I've been in this industry since 2001, I have so many returning guests, referrals, etc. that it doesn't really I don't even have enough availability normally to put on the apartments on one of the big booking sites. I keep saying one of the big booking sites because I don't want to give them necessarily credit.
No, don't give any names. People knows what we're
Don't name
doing.
names.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, yeah, I think I have the exception to the rule, but there's a lot to be said also for the power of the big booking sites. So if you don't have a good base like I do, for example, if you're working with an agency that lists on them, that's no big deal. It's just important to keep the listing competitive on these different sites because then what you get into is a situation where you've got so much competition on the really big booking websites. So sometimes it's really hard to find the right price based upon your overhead, the market, the time of year, and a lot of other things. And you also mentioned earlier, you mentioned the workflow. That is pretty important too. And it's very difficult to effectively run a property management business with some sort of technological help. If things were simply dates, times, bookings, and bookings that never changed, it always stays. Somebody books those dates and they'll always be coming on that date at that time and no changes. That's really fine. But there's still room for error and it increases anytime you have a change. So, how often does it come where somebody's trying to get onto one flight and for some reason it's canceled? Now they're on another flight. Now you've got to redo all your system and so on and so forth. It can be really complicated. And then you need to coordinate everything, not only yourself with the owner and the guest, but also with the cleaner or the cleaning company and the greeter. So, I mean, there's so many different things that affect the time of a booking that if you don't have some sort of system in place that is not just, oh, let me write it down on a piece of paper to keep this all organized, something's going to fall into a muck. You won't be able to juggle all your balls in the air.
Yeah, it's true that with some agents, I mean, I said agency, but like property managers who run with a PMS system, of course, they can when they are working with a lot of properties, they can manage all those in one click. Like you were mentioning, like a lot of different items you have to take into account in order to make a smooth booking for the clients. So all the behind the scenes things have to be hidden from the guest. So, but it has to be considered in order to choose your property management companies. And these are all the things that, in my opinion, make it easier to work with a professional who use this kind of tools. And one of the things that we have to consider as well is that, of course, a property manager will save you a lot of times and money, and they are not working for free, or we would all work with professional managers. But you are actually paying for their expertise, and for their and talking about the expertise would be also to know what is the market for your apartment. Like we know how many owners who think that their property worth that because they saw that on a website, on a famous platforms, they saw like it was 150 a night. But in reality, when you deduct all the cost of all the things and all the people you mentioned, like the greeters, the cleaning and everything, this is not the price it's going to be in the pocket of the owner. So working with a professional is really get the expertise and get the peace of mind. So in the end, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it makes things so much easier when you work with a professional. I mean, I don't think that a person really has an idea of how many things behind the scenes are involved for managing a property and even simply taking a booking, everything else that that entails.
Yeah. And in your opinion, do you think it makes a big difference if the company you choose is based where your apartment is?
That's really an important question. And in my personal opinion, yes, I do think it's an important thing because if there's an emergency at your apartment in Paris, for example, does someone in the city actually hold keys in case of an emergency so that they can assist after hours? Or are you, for example, using a property manager that is, I don't know, based, for example, in London, and they farm out things to somebody else. I mean, who knows? I mean, if there's not somebody available in the case of an emergency, it's important that the agency keeps abreast of any changes as well too. So it's not only like it's an emergency, there could be work going on in the building that they don't know about because they're not based here, so they didn't maybe say something the last time somebody was checked into the apartment because they're not aware. They don't have eyes on the ground per se.
Yeah. So unless they do have eyes on the ground, like the first thing is to say, okay, if the company is not on site, that means that it's complicated for them to work. So the only option you would accept would be if you can check with them exactly who will be on the ground, who is going to, if they work remotely from London, do they have a partners on site, they have a cleaning company, do they have someone who are ready to act when there's a problem. So it's like one of the big questions to do when you check for a company.
Yeah, who's going to handle the problem at midnight if something arises?
And we need to make sure that they know the rules, because we know that in France there is so many different rules applying for the regulation of the vacation rentals. So you need to make sure that they are fully aware on what's going on site.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, laws.
Because if there is any issue, you need to make sure that your agent, property manager, is going to have your back, and to tell you like, sorry, no, we cannot longer do vacation rental, for example, or it has to be your primary home. So you have to make sure that the company you work with are aware of the situation, and not only because maybe they are perfect to do bookings, but if they don't know that they cannot do that, it's going to be an issue. Also, we mentioned like the tourist tax, for example, because it can change from a year to another, and it change from a city to another because everyone is charging differently. You have to make sure that they are going to collect for you the amount correctly, and they are going to pay this tax for you, unless it's only booking through big platforms where the big platforms can handle that for you. But if they have some direct bookings plus platforms plus I don't know which networks, then you need to make sure that they are going to do the things right.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I mean, it's not impossible to have somebody manage your place if they don't live in the same country or city. However, it's not always ideal. It just really depends on who that property management company is working with on the ground in Paris, for example, to make sure that everything will be done correctly, that everybody's in the loop about all the legalities and so on and so forth. If you're enjoying this episode of Paris, A State of Mind, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, Paris Undressed. Join Kate as she guides women to celebrate themselves through their bodies. Paris, A State of Mind will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now back to Paris, A State of Mind.
And do you think it's important for a property manager to have a website? Like, for example, I put an ad for my own apartment on any website, and I have someone who contact me and to say, okay, I'm a property manager, I'm in Paris, and I'd like to advertise your thing. I don't have any website, but I'm working on platforms, so I don't need a website. What do you think about that?
I think that's ridiculous. I really do. I don't know how you could do a business of property management if you don't have a website. Really, personally speaking. I mean, the goal is to build a base of returning guests and to show people what you have. And in order to do that, you need some sort of showcase, some sort of lookbook of the apartments that you have under management. I mean, how do you expect people to have confidence in you as a property manager if you don't have a bloody website? I don't know. Booking portals are fine to start with, but they don't help you build up your own base of returning guests. That is the job of the owner and the property manager. The owner needs to ensure their apartments meet the qualities needed for a vacation rental flat, a holiday flat, and must be open for feedback on how to improve things and change. And the property manager needs to ensure guests feel welcome and would want to come back again. The agent also must be proactive in explaining how to book directly in the future. But I mean, if you don't have a website, you can't book direct.
Yes, and this is one of the hot topic for property managers, but also for owners, because if we can improve the booking in direct, like this will save fees because you will not pay the fees on the bookings you have. So that means that in some points you will be able to have a better margin. So it's better for the agents, it's better for the owners. So it's really important to have this. And you cannot. We know that a few years back when we started our businesses, everything was directly on our websites, and almost like it was 100% of the bookings was direct. So and then like little by little we started to display on many different websites, but it's very important for agent to keep a direct feed to have direct bookings. I think it's very important. I guess that having a website would be like a must, or that means that you don't work on the customers you are working with, and you're actually paid to get these customers because you actually paid a high commission. So that means that you pay once and you don't bet on the future with those, because they can be referral for you.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a website.
Yeah, exactly. I remember an hotel. I was in Berlin, but my stay was very short, so I decided to go to an hotel. And I booked it through a very famous website where you book for a hotel's room. And it was inside the restroom, they had these stickers who said, if you come back directly to us next time, call this and email us, and then you'll get a 50% discount.
50%?
Yeah, no, 15. Sorry.
Oh, 15.
Sorry about that. My bad. My bad. But even though 15% on your price per night, it's like a huge thing. And so it was very clever because first it was at the place where they knew people were going to look at it. So no doubt on that. But then it was clever to say, okay, we are very happy you booked through this famous website, but then if you come back directly to us, then you'll get that. And I know that sometimes you can, if you are a tenant listening to our podcast, if you go directly to the property managers or to the owners, they will be more than welcome to make a little things if it's not passing through one of the big platforms.
Well, yeah, because what a lot of owners have to do, or property managers, they actually have to increase their price on platforms to compensate for the fees that the platforms, the big booking sites, we're not going to name names, that they're charging. So I mean, if you go directly with somebody's website, directly with the owner, directly with the property manager, with the company, then yes, in general, it should reduce what you're paying, or at least not be more expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's friendlier.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's good to diversify, not go only to. Yeah, it's good if you the property manager you choose is able to go different ways. And one of the things that he has to do is that you have to ask for is that how do they do for maintaining your property for rentals? And I think this is going to be a full episode that we'll do very soon.
Oh, absolutely. Because maintenance is a huge topic. We'll try to make it short. We will cover it on another episode. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well for this lovely chat. Talk to you soon.
Toodaloo. Thanks for listening to Paris, A State of Mind, featuring Gail of Perfectly Paris and Marie of Lokim, both who are founding members of the SPLM. Paris, A State of Mind is produced by Paris Underground Radio. The music, Jazz in Paris, is by Media Right Productions. For more information on this show and others, go to parisundergroundradio.com.
This episode of Paris: A State of Mind was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please visit parisundergroundradio.com.